Hear the roar, and it is all about Tropical Storm Danny. You've entered the Lyons Den. Thanks for being here. I'm meteorologist Alexandra Steele, along, of course, with our meteorologist and weather producer John Erdman and our hurricane expert Dr. Steve Lyons. So, Steve, the first question to you, Tropical Storm Danny, what will be the shape of this wind field?
Well, it's highly asymmetric now, and it's going to continue to be that, and it may even become even more asymmetric. Let me show you a satellite image of what it looks like right now. Then we can go from there. You can see the circulation center is this low cloud swirl, basically, and the stronger winds are on the east and north side of the circulation. High pressure's off to the east of the gradients in there. So very asymmetric, and it's going to stay an east-sided strong wind event. There's very little wind on the southwest side, and that's going to be closest. It's already closest to the Bahamas where the winds are light, and that'll be closest to the east coast as it goes to the north over the next day or two.
All right, so it's certainly asymmetric, but John, what's going to control the direction of motion?
Well, Alex, we have a strong trough that's going to dig into the eastern United States. It's more reminiscent of the fall, and this trough is going to dig in and eventually grab hold of Tropical Storm Danny and accelerate it toward the north-northeast. And so as a result, Danny's going to be moving, 25, 30 miles an hour or more by the time this trough grabs hold of it and slings it up toward New England.
All right, so back to you, Steve. Steve, how does this compare really to a typical tropical cyclone we see? Because it's quite different, isn't it?
It sure is. Let's look at a sort of a schematic of what one typically looks like in the tropics. First of all, it's not accelerating. Typically, they're moving at a fairly constant speed of about 15 miles an hour, maybe 18. The change of motion is very slow, so that doesn't really contribute much to the change in wind around the circulation. The other thing is, most of the time, the change in strength is controlled by the rain in and around the circulation. In the case of Danny, we expect the trough to be the main mechanism for strengthening, not deep thunderstorms that are going to blow up around the center of circulation. So very different. This one's more of a non-tropical developer and a very right-sided system or east-sided system.
You know, it's so similar to Bill in a way that the trough, that prevalent trough of the Midwest, is driving and kind of deciding this once again, similar to that. And the irony is that trough then and this trough now, really the persistence of it has led them to have wet and cool, very cool summers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all connected, and so fortunately that's keeping these tropical cyclones from affecting the East Coast directly. But then again, it's also bringing some rather wet weather for the summer. So, you take some and you get some. And,
it's giving them an awful summer, but yet it's helping them kind of not get into a total wash, bringing in all these tropical cyclones. Okay, so what about Tropical Storm Danny in terms of its movement? Last hour you talked about kind of this intermediate advisory, a very key component, small as it may be, but it's big, right?
That's right. We've been waiting for a turn more toward the north or northwest, and we've got it already, at least with the latest advisory. Let me show you what that is. It's basically moving north at about 6 miles per hour now, and it was moving to the west at 2. The good news is that's at about 73.3 west. The Outer Banks of North Carolina are around 75 west, so it's east of there. It would have to go north-northwest to get to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It's still not impossible, but the thing is it's also to the west of New England. So as we look at the projected path, we think it's going to be at or offshore the North Carolina coastline, but it's going to have to make a turn back toward the east before it can miss New England. So here it is here, and you can see it's going to have to go way on the western edge of our cone. And the good news there is that, remember, the stronger winds are going to be offshore, or at least to the east of the circulation. So it's really going to have to come onshore in North Carolina for the winds to get there. And we right now think it's going to be offshore. New England's another case because high pressure is going to build into the north. They're going to get some pretty brisk east-northeast winds ahead of the circulation. Windy, wet there at least, no matter what we call it and how strong it is.
All right. And also, John, when you look at this is no textbook tropical cyclone. It's very funky shaped.
Exactly. We've been marveling behind the scenes today going, if we had a basic meteorology textbook, we went to tropical cyclone.
You wouldn't see this thing.
We would not see Danny. This is definitely a weird-looking storm.
Which makes it interesting in a way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something fascinating about kind of developing and watching something as odd as this.
Yeah, it makes it fun. We don't want to see the same thing every day. We want to see variety.
Right.
As long as that asymmetry is offshore.
Right.
Yes,
so the good news is a further northern motion now, which keeps it away, and all the concentration of precip really is to its east side, so that's both working for us.
Exactly.
All right, we'll meet you guys back here with more info and see if anything else later develops. Thank you guys very much. Well, it took begging and pleading from Kevin, but finally eyewitness weather coming in fortunes. We're going to have the latest and the greatest.